The 2 weeks leading up to the Super Bowl are important for the players in the game, of course, but it is also true for former NFL players looking to pick up some cash. Joining us from Phoenix is Robert Tuchman, president of Goviva, a sports and entertainment marketing firm. He is also a contributing writer for Forbes magazine. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Well, this is such an interesting story. How exactly are these former players making money during the Super Bowl?
Well, former players have tons of opportunities to make money, before the Super Bowl and really the week leading up to the Super Bowl. Everything from corporate golf outings to appearances, chalk talks. They even have abilities to endorse products really for some of these CPG companies along Media Row. So there are plenty of opportunities for athletes, former pros, former NFL players to really make a lot of money during the week.
So who are the most popular players that people want to see, former players, and typically what do they make?
Well, the biggest names are some of the biggest players, back in the day who played, the Joe Montanas, Jim Kelly, and a lot of those guys can command upwards of $60,000, $70,000 for an appearance for just a couple hours. But then there's other players. There's players like Carl Banks, Mark Schlereth, Warren Moon. Some of those guys who come to Super Bowl each year can earn between, $10,000 and $15,000 per appearance. So there's really a huge spectrum in terms of the amount of players coming, and then of course the price variations depending on who the player is.
Well, you mentioned who the player is. It sounds like the way to do this, if you're a company, is you want somebody who's on the tipping point of greatness.
You know what? It happened to us. Probably about 8 years ago, we hired a guy by the name of Matt Ryan to do a golf tournament for us, and that was back when he was just leaving college coming into the pros, and I think at the time we paid him about $10,000. Today, if we wanted to get him, he would probably be about $60,000 or $70,000 for a 2-hour appearance. So it's like picking a stock, if you can get one of those up-and-comers and they do really well, you can say, hey, we had them back then.
So if these guys book a whole bunch of events, they can have a pretty profitable week.
Oh, let me tell you, they could pay their mortgage for the year if they come into town and they do it right. And most of these guys do it. They come into Super Bowl. This is a business trip for them. They come here basically to do appearances all week leading up to the game. Most of them, in fact, take off before the game on Sunday, leaving on Saturday night so they can be with their families and watch the game back home. So it's a business trip for them.
I want to know, do you guys design these adventures or do the clients come to you? And if so, what's the wildest thing a client has ever asked for?
Well, that's a good question, yeah. So my company, Goviva, we put together all these types of experiences to go to these events, and it will include tickets and hotel and playing with athletes and really a complete full once-in-a-lifetime weekend. But the craziest thing, I think, or one of the most interesting things we ever had, we had a client and all they wanted to do was hire Ickey Woods, who, if you remember, Ickey Woods did that Ickey Shuffle, and all they wanted him, remember that? All they wanted him to do, they came to the Super Bowl, he walked in the room, met the CEO, turned around and did the Ickey Shuffle for the entire crowd and walked out. So, I mean, he got paid $2,500 for it for about 2 minutes worth of work.
Wow.
Heck of a way to make a living. Robert Tuchman in Phoenix, thanks very much for being with us this morning. $2,500.